More great stuff tomorrow. So if you watch today, make sure you watch again tomorrow and have a blessed day.
The play is Our Fam. You don't know about Our Fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave.
Yep.
He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those two games.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Kiffin arrives at LSU, plus one of the oldest sports gets a new league. Front Office Sports Today starts now. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today, your look inside the stories that are shaping the business and culture of sports. I'm Baker Machado here at FOS Studios in New York City, and this podcast is brought to you by Invesco QQQ. Changing the game has always been our game. You can access NASDAQ 100 companies in just one ETF, Invesco Distributors, Inc. Now, coming up on today's show, Olympic fencer Miles Chamley-Watson is going to join us to talk about his new Nike shoe, plus his new fencing league. But let's start with the latest college football coaching news in today's main event. Well, the dust has started to settle in the SEC as Lane Kiffin was formally introduced as the new head coach over at LSU, and he admitted in his press conference he didn't even know the financials of his $91 million contract, saying he told his agent, quote, I want to make a decision that has nothing to do with numbers. So let's bring in FOS reporter Amanda Kristovich. So Amanda, how would you sort of summarize Lane Kiffin's press conference?
Well, I was really looking at the emotional aspects of it, right? This was obviously an emotional decision for Lane Kiffin. He really emphasized that. He also talked about how difficult it was when he drove through Oxford to get to the private plane that LSU sent him, and how he described being run off the road by fans. And it really seemed like when he first stepped up to the podium, he took this long, deep breath. And it was like, he looked like he hadn't slept, in days, which he probably hadn't. But then as the press conference went on and he started talking about his experience at LSU just in the first 24 hours of being there, he perked up a little bit. He made some jokes, got some laughs, even a couple rounds of applause. And it sort of seemed like he was excited about the decision. And even though he was clearly fatigued, he felt confident that it was the right decision.
Okay, so let's get to that part that he mentions about the financials, that he didn't really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
He allowed his super agent, Jimmy Sexton at CAA, to sort of take control of that. Do we believe him with that, or does he just expect, because his agent is such a big force within college sports, that he was just going to take care of them?
Well, I think to the extent that maybe he wasn't aware of all the little specifics that we talk about, that's probably true. And the reason that I kind of believe that is because he mentioned that all four schools, we knew he was in contention for Florida, we knew he was in contention for LSU, we knew he was in contention to stay at Ole Miss. We don't know the name of the fourth school. Anyway, all those offers were relatively similar from, a coaching contract perspective, and that's at least what he said Jimmy Sexton told him, right? So he wasn't really interested in arguing the semantics. What's, 12.5 million versus 13 million when you're Lane Kiffin? But what he did say was important to him from a financial perspective was what the player NIL packages would be, because that's what would help him recruit.
That's interesting. Back, though, to the agent part, which I think is interesting because he had mentioned that two people really sort of helped him make that decision to choose LSU. Mm-hmm. One being, Raiders head coach Pete Carroll, the other being, College Football Hall of Famer Nick Saban, who is on ESPN. Now, we should note Saban also has Jimmy Sexton as an agent. Is there a conflict of interest in that situation, given the fact that they're both represented by the same guy? What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's been a lot of conversation about the fact that so many of these coaches are represented by the same agent. Mm-hmm. And, as you mentioned, when Saban was at Alabama, Jimmy Sexton was his agent. I think the bigger question of the conflict of interest is about ESPN, though, and Saban's role as an analyst. Now, nobody really considers Saban a journalist, right? I'll give you that. But he is an analyst on ESPN, and it is generally considered a conflict of interest for someone who is opining, even if not covering, but giving their opinion on a situation as a member of the media. It's a conflict of interest for them to also be influencing that situation behind the scenes. Saban clearly, Lane Kiffin sort of wink, wink, hint, hinted, that said that Saban told him to take the job at LSU, and just 2 days earlier, Saban had been on ESPN's College Game Day talking about his opinion about Lane Kiffin's legacy and whether or not he should be able to stay at Ole Miss. And I asked ESPN for comment about the prospect of a conflict of interest there, and they declined to comment.
In the minute or so we have left, what is your reaction? You mentioned the Ole Miss fan reaction to the booing at the tarmac and just everything else. What's your sort of reaction to that? Is it just this school is really clearly angry that their best coach just left, or is there some validity to what they're saying here?
I think there's total validity. I mean, your coach leaves in the middle of a historic college football playoff run. I mean, he spent 6 years building up this program, doing something that, no other coach could do there, and really sort of over the last couple weeks has been very cagey about this decision. The folks at Ole Miss, I can totally understand where they're coming from. It would be one thing for him to leave after the season is over, but to leave in the middle or right before he would be about to embark on a journey that he's been saying he could take this team on for his entire time there. I mean, to say it's a slap in the face is an understatement. And, to those who say that, well, Ole Miss is this, the administrators decided that he couldn't stay. They kicked him out, right? That wasn't his fault. I mean, he knew, he had to know. Mm-hmm. He had to know. You cannot coach an SEC program
and not expect that reaction.
And also just not expect to be kicked out the second you decide to sign the contract at the rival school.
Yeah, very good point.
So, I mean, look, I'm not going to condone
but you sympathize, or at least understand what they're feeling.
Right. I'm not going to condone running a coach off the road physically in your car. If that even happened, we don't know for sure that it did. But, but I certainly understand the emotion.
Amanda Kristovich, thank you so much. Meanwhile, I had the chance to speak with Olympic fencer Miles Chamley-Watson all about his new fencing league. Take a look. And welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. I'm Baker Machado here in New York City. And big news in the world of fencing, as Olympian and multiple world champ Miles Chamley-Watson is part of a group launching the World Fencing League. This in a bid to modernize one of the world's oldest sports. So let's bring in Miles Chamley-Watson. Miles, great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. So tell us about the World Fencing League. This sounds really exciting.
Thank you for having me. So the World Fencing League kind of started, I would say, around 3 years ago in my head, and then I'd probably say a year ago with my team. I kind of been thinking about, okay, after the Olympics, we kind of made a splash. It was beautiful, and I'm like, well, why don't we have this every week, every month, right? And I was like, so light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, okay, we need to create a league. And from talking to my team, Leo and Zen and Carl, about a year ago to our first event next year, it's pretty surreal that, we're kind of having our first debut event next year in LA. And for me, it was, I hated seeing waste of talent in the sport. I also hated seeing people that couldn't necessarily afford just to do what they love to do. Most kids have multiple jobs, and there was kind of no roadmap to creating a future for the sport of fencing. And I was like, this is the future. So this is why I founded the WFL. I'm so excited.
You mentioned, obviously, the inaugural event's going to take place in LA in April, but how is the league actually going to work here? And are you talking to distributors about broadcasting a lot of the rights for a lot of these?
Yeah. So we definitely already have some good distributors. TV rights is kind of, the most important thing is how do you get a new audience to kind of understand the sport of fencing, right? And how do you kind of educate people on what the sport is? It's not like the Parent Trap. It's a really incredible sport. So we are able to work with this incredible company called Dentsu, which created a new tech which tracks the actual weapon. So it's literally incredible. So basically, you'll be able to see everything. It almost gamifies the sport, right? So you can see where someone's hitting you, how fast they're hitting you, how slow they're hitting you, which is, I think, the biggest kind of breakthrough in our sport, because people just didn't really understand kind of how somebody was being scored, right? It's like this green light and this red light, but beyond that, kind of what's happening. So that's going to be the first massive improvement in the sport. Then I think we're also adding an entire new element to gamifying the sport, but also the intensity. Because I think when you really see fencing, you do realize that it is pure combat, but you can't really understand that from just the normal camera angles and the way that sport's kind of normally been shown. And for first pilot, we're having Olympic champions, world champions. So we have, the best fencers in the world, but we wanted to kind of debut the best fencers for our first event, but also showcase that it is for everyone in the sport, right? So the whole point is we're creating a roadmap for the future of the sport. So kids and parents can invest in fencing. And now there's an end goal. There's a way to make money. There's a way for these kids to be shown the right light. There's a way for these kids to just really be shown in the right light. And that's kind of what I've wanted to do with the WFL.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The play is our fam. You don't know about our fam? Go look her up on social media. Go look at YouTube. 19-year-old from Spain, 6'6", block shots, runs the floor, rebounds, post up, inside, outside, pop the corn, serve the beer, and it can clean up the mess when you're done eating your meal. This lady is absolutely fantastic.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. I'm Baker Machado, and this podcast is brought to you by Invesco QQQ. In football, changing the game begins with rethinking it, like rethinking how players work on their game. And with wearable technology, advanced analytics, AI, and more, that same innovative thinking that changes the game could also change your portfolio. And Invesco QQQ gives you access to the innovators who are rethinking the world. So let's rethink possibility. All right, now more of my interview with Olympic fencer Miles Chamley-Watson on launching his new fencing league, plus his new Nike shoe. Take a look. So what's your role going to be in all of this, Miles? Are you sort of going to be the promotional face of this? Are you going to be in the league partaking in this? Are you the commissioner? Are you just the investor? Who are you to this?
I'm everything. No, I'm kidding. Well, I'm founder. I am competing in a league, but I'm also someone who I think has to really put my feet on the ground to kind of understand and educate people on my team about where I want this to go, right? And I want this to be, say, the UFC of fencing per se, where this is an event every couple weeks, every month that brings in younger kids, brings in new kids, but also just shows the world what fencing really is. So I am founder, but I am also involved in all the meetings, taking on my investing meetings as well. But I am also still competing for the next Olympics. So it's funny enough that I am also competing in it, but also involved in every type of, scenario of that, from the meetings to the events to kind of everything. So could say commissioner, I guess.
Hey, that's great. Guy with a lot of hats here. Miles, obviously we've seen a lot of athletes and investors turning Olympic sports into professional leagues, this one as part of it as well. Why do you think we're seeing so many of these leagues pop up right now? What's sort of the interest here?
Well, I think it's definitely all about timing, right? And I think when you see the Olympics and you see how much money we make, the Olympic Committee, very few athletes get any of that money, right? And I think for us, it's if you win an Olympic gold medal from the Olympics, is $50,000, which to me is a slap in the face. I can make that in 10 minutes now. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, how do you really take a sport that needs to mainstream, but give it people that are dedicating their life to it actual money, a little piece of it, right? So a good buddy of mine, Sean White, did the Snow League. Mm-hmm. My friend Paul Rabel did the PLL, two of my really good friends. And I think the whole point of this is to actually create a league that is athlete first. I think that's the biggest difference. Is most of these, you're under the governing body of your sport, and it's kind of whatever says goes, right? There's no prize money. They're in small little gyms in the middle of Europe. They're not on TV, and I'm like, no, this is no more of this. I think for us, my thing was seeing the Olympics in 2024 in Paris. The audience that I brought to the sport, I was like, okay, if I can bring in the top people in the universe, why can't I do this for the sport forever? And I think that was why I think now is the perfect timing, because we have the Olympics in 2028 as well.
You have said that you think fencing can be as mainstream as basketball or as football. What would you say to maybe the casual observer who maybe doesn't know a ton about fencing as to why that this sport could be mainstream?
Well, I think it became mainstream because it's honestly pure combat, right? It goes back to just sword fighting, if you take it down to layman's terms, right? It's like when you're a kid, I didn't get into basketball. I got a stick with my friends and we're like, poking each other, right? And I'm like, if you really understand the integrity of the sport, I have a foil in my hand, a saber, whatever, and it's the best man wins. And I think it's so beautiful to see someone just with the same thing, but it's physical chess. You have to think ahead. You have to move like a boxer. So I think it's just such an incredibly beautiful, elegant sport that I think most sports don't have that. And I think we have the history of fencing, but also we can modernize it. And I think that's what we're doing now with the WFL. And it's just sick. You're sword fighting. Come on, man.
I know, exactly. No, you already have me right there. I'm so excited for this, and I can't wait to see this. And by the way, the inaugural match starts in April. I want to switch gears and talk about your deal that you got with Nike. We saw the new ads for your new Nike by Miles. They look amazing. You say in the video, it's finally here. What took so long to finally have this shoe out? And what was sort of the design process like?
I'm so honored that I never thought I would ever have my own Nike shoe. I've got a Bumston right here. I've always had this vision of how can I get my foot in the door in fashion and shoes, and Nike's been my first sponsor for 10 years. And I was talking to one of the CEOs, and I was sitting there, I was like, listen, mate, I've got an idea. Just give me a chance. And I was like, okay, Miles, all right. And then from that conversation a year ago at Wimbledon to getting the shoe come out in October, I had the full design process, the full creative control, and the colors are. We have to get you a pair, but the colors are sick. And every day I wake up and look at them and I think, wow, I did that. So it's been a year from just the idea to the actual ideation of the shoe, and the amount of reception I'm getting, the amount of people that have been asking me, to celebrities I look up to that have just been like, can I have the shoe? I'm like, what? So it's been surreal, to be honest with you. And I'm just, we're just warming up here.
You're just warming up, so there's going to be more coming down the pipeline then.
That's who knows? We'll have to do round part 2 of this.
I love
But
this.
I've always just loved like shoes and fashion, and I think I have the knowledge and the understanding now to like really put my idea to paper and really create something special. And I love that it's like no other shoe that you've ever seen.
Well, let's talk about this because obviously looking even at your Instagram, like you have a really great eye for fashion and a really good eye for what's hot right now. What do you think is more difficult, being a fashion influencer and designing shoes for Nike, or being a fencing Olympian and getting this league off the ground?
That's a tough one, but I think definitely still the athlete first.
Yeah.
Athlete first for sure. It's tough to create something and then have a full team behind you for sure, but they go hand in hand. I think the fashion and the fashion side is a healthy distraction for me, but I still have to win at the end of the day, right? But I just love designing and I love just that fashion aspect. So fashion was kind of the first industry to accept me. So
and what advice would you have for other athletes out there who are maybe trying to build a brand, but maybe don't even have a league like you didn't with fencing? How do you sort of build a brand and build yourself?
I think the key is to understand the culture of your sport and understand where you want the sport to go and how you can actually do something. So like you have to write things down from preparation to first step to this to the future 5-10 years. So I think it comes down to a lot of understanding of what your sport is, and also how do you change something for the future? That's what I would always say. Like, how do the next kids growing up say, wow, okay, this is what I want to do? I think that was, for me, it was like, these kids are going to have no more issues now because I'm creating something for them. I think that's the biggest thing I could ever do, bigger than any medal I could ever win, is really changing a sport for the better. That's what I would say to them.
I think it's all so cool. Congratulations, Miles, on all the success. Can't wait to see exactly what's going to be happening come April for this amazing league. Miles Chamley-Watson joining us here on Front Office Sports, and we got more show coming your way right after this quick break.
Let's play our game of buy or sell. Let's get to the quarterbacks for next year. Mac Jones will be an NFL starter to begin next season. He's looked great. Brock Purdy has not. Buy or sell?
You look through the NFL here. Miami, Jets, Cleveland, Raiders. I'm just going
Arizona,
by division.
Minnesota.
Arizona, definitely. Minnesota, definitely. New Orleans,
the Raiders.
I mentioned
Can
the Raiders.
you just say buy and move on, please, to the next question? Because you know it's a buy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a buy. It is a buy. He's right. He'll definitely be starting with somebody there, right? He has had a nice season. He'll start with somebody. Jets.
Buy. Gardner Minshew was a starter in the NFL year after year for the next guy in waiting. I mean, this keeps happening. You think that Mac Jones is not going to be a buy? All right. Daniel Jones will finish the season as a better fantasy quarterback than Justin Herbert of the Chargers. Both players, George, have slipped quite a bit in November here.
Broken fibula. No, he's not going to finish better than Justin Herbert. I don't know if he's going to finish the season. You got to think if they were playing better, maybe he was sitting out a week or two, but they've been struggling, trying to win that division. Big games now against Houston, that they're sort of pushing him in there. No. I know the offensive line for the Chargers is horrific. I get it. But no, I'll say Justin plays a little bit better.
I'm buying it. I don't like what I see with the Chargers at all. Can't run, can't throw, can't play defense. Feels like Harbaugh's getting a little desperate.
Broken fibula.
It's not a tibula. It's a fibula. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, fine.
I don't know that to be true. Okay. It just sounded good.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. I'm Baker Machado here at FOS Studios in New York City, and this segment is brought to you by Invesco QQQ. So let's dive into our asset class sponsored segment with Ben Horney. And Ben, let's talk about this latest situation with Udonis Haslem. He's the latest athlete now to reach a settlement avoiding a lawsuit over the collapse of crypto exchange FTX. He is basically now in the same category now as Shaquille O'Neal, who settled as well. So what do we know about this?
Yeah, this. So as far as I am aware, he's the second athlete who is settling out of this. Now they're preparing the settlement. So agreement has been reached. They need to finalize it. There was a filing on the docket November 26th. No terms disclosed, but yeah, Udonis Haslem. This is long-standing litigation. It was first filed in November 2022, and he's getting out.
So let's talk about this case to begin with, because we all know Sam Bankman-Fried, in jail right now, I think for 25 years, regarding how he used the funds for FTX. But a lot of athletes have been caught up in this. I mean, right now we have Tom Brady, you have Steph Curry, a bunch of others also sort of entangled in this. And you actually got a quote a while ago from one of the attorneys that is representing the people in the case, basically saying that the athletes who have not settled could be on the hook for billions of dollars in damages. Explain that.
Yeah, so this it's a massive lawsuit. It's kind of a combination of a bunch of lawsuits. It's called multi-district litigation. So a bunch of lawsuits were filed in different districts throughout the country, and they were combined into one case that's being overseen by a single judge in Florida. So all of those claims are in this case. A lot of the claims were dismissed at some point, but there's a number of them that are still ongoing. And for these athletes, for the most part, they're accused of promoting FTX while knowing that they were unregistered securities and basically knowing that there was potential harm to the consumer, but they weren't sharing that. So Udonis Haslem specifically, he was accused of promoting FTX, not disclosing that he was being paid for it, and also not disclosing that they were unregistered securities. And the allegations against him say, like, he's a sophisticated person. He should have known this. So the athletes are really getting in hot water because they were promoting this, just taking money from it, and kind of not caring about the potential effects on consumers.
Well, and Udonis Haslem, I believe, has said that he could have made $15 million from this investment.
Yeah.
He only got, I think, a little bit less than $1 million or about $1 million.
So he was paid, it was an equity payment, not a cash payment.
Okay.
So when he was paid...
Oh, in FTX funds.
Yes. So when he was paid, it was worth about $1 million. He made comments to a local South Florida newspaper. I forget exactly when it was, but he basically said, I was gypped out of $15 million. Right before the collapse of FTX, his equity position was worth about $15 million. So he thought he was making all this money. All of a sudden, the entire thing collapses. So he was just like anyone who had, invested in this crypto exchange. Everyone lost all their money because Sam Bankman-Fried, was a criminal.
So why haven't athletes like Steph Curry, Shohei Ohtani, even Tom Brady settled at this point? Why are they still allowing this to sort of continue to drag on? What's their case on?
I would imagine we need to go through the filings to see what their lawyers are arguing. I would imagine that most of these people think that they're going to be able to get out of it. What was interesting to the quote that you pointed out, this attorney Adam Moskowitz, who represents a lot of the plaintiffs, he had said that, so when Shaq settled for $1.8 million. This was, I think it was finalized maybe in April. It had been announced previous to that. I'm expecting we might find out how much Udonis Haslem settled for, because with Shaq, at first it came out that he settled for an undisclosed amount, and then later on it was disclosed in the filings. That attorney had told me Shaq reached a great deal here, and that basically through conversations with attorneys and whatnot, they all determined, okay, yes, we will settle, rather than letting it go all the way to trial. And the potential for damages is in the billions. Like with the allegations, it all would depend on what happens in the trial. But yes, the money could be huge.
It's still, obviously, a lot of these exchanges is still sort of the Wild West when it comes to athlete endorsements. Do you think athletes have learned from the situation with FTX, especially given the fact that SBF is in jail? Or do you still feel like this is still going to be the Wild West and we'll have more situations like this down the road?
I'm sure that there will be more. I do think people probably have learned a lesson or two, because there was such a crazy, there were Super Bowl commercials, Steph Curry, the one specific allegation was Udonis Haslem did this too, saying, I'm 100% in. I'm all in on this. I think the lesson for athletes to take is don't say something like that in an advertisement if you don't know enough about the product that you're trying to sell.
And we forget FTX also was the sponsor of the arena in Miami. Wasn't there also celebs in this? Larry David was also in.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of athletes, but there's also Larry David is one of the defendants, and there's other celebrities and. influencers and whatnot. Anyone that had their hand on the FTX money, they were basically named in this lawsuit.
Great, crazy stuff. Ben Horney, thank you so much. And of course, you can read more of the asset class, Ben's newsletter, by signing up for it at frontofficesports.com. And this segment has been brought to you by Invesco QQQ. And with the last little bit of show that we have left for you, let's tell you what we're watching on this Tuesday night. Big lineup tonight in the NBA. The Knicks over at the Celtics. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and Peacock. Meanwhile, over on ESPN, the ACC-SEC In-Season Challenge features number 15 Florida at number 4 Duke. That's at 7:30 p.m. and number 16 North Carolina at number 18 Kentucky. That is at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And that's going to do it for this edition